or change. They're a liar. The problem is we've gotten so used to hypocrisy, we're now electing them into the White House. We elect them as pastors, music ministers, and sometimes we're even married to them. If somebody's behavior and way of life does not match what they say, they're a liar, a hypocrite. And if you believe in the existence of morality, they're immoral. Someone who does not match what they say is the worst kind of human being. Most people in prison lived the life of a hypocrite. During the day, they were a decent human being, or so we thought. At night, or away from other people, they had no integrity. How many people's lives have been ruined, marriages ended, or lives taken due to hypocrisy? When people ask me why I left the church, this is my second answer. My first answer is always the way they never object to immoral acts of depravity. Second would be hypocrisy. One way for me, another for you. If anyone behaved in the way that a lot of hypocritical leaders behave, they would be recalled, fired, and put in prison. Sticking a label of Christian on you does not mean you have a right or legal obligation to escape consequences. And if you believe in the idea of Christianity, anyone who is a hypocrite doesn't know God and will not be going to heaven. Because if you believe in the concept of being God's child, God will never acknowledge you as one of his children if you're a hypocrite. And hypocrisy is all about performance. The idea of a nuclear heterosexual family is the poster child of hypocrisy. How many posters, flyers, books teach that heteronormative activity is the only acceptable way to live, but never talk about how every 10 minutes women are killed by their intimate partners, or that 1 out of 4 women endure domestic or emotional violence. Hypocrisy seems to be very common among men. I think it's most insidious among men and most common in women. If there is no affection, integrity, honesty, you're not a good person. And just because you go to church 52 times a year doesn't make you anything. I can list on my 2 hands at least 10 people on death row who went to church every Sunday. It doesn't make you a decent person. It just means you should be a better person, but doesn't mean you are. Religious hypocrisy is why the world is laughing at Christianity. When Christians did the insurrection, and it wasn't just Christians, but morally religious conservatives took part in the insurrection on January 6th, they thought they were defending democracy. But if you read the Bible, it says you're supposed to submit yourself to the governing authorities. That's hypocrisy. When people say that lust is a sin, but later gets caught with misconduct or solicitation, you have yourself a hypocrite. When a teacher teaches about God's truth, but hits his wife, you have a hypocrite. When you have a president who sells Bibles or wants to uphold the sanctity of marriage, but has been married 3 times. When someone says they want to deport everyone who is not a documented immigrant, but whose mother was undocumented, you have yourself a hypocrite. When members pray to God, but treat their children like crap, you have a hypocrite. When one person goes to church but lives a life of utter depravity, you have yourself a hypocrite. When people swear before God that they're going to be moral, decent, and faithful spouses, but 62% of marriages end due to money problems or infidelity, you have yourself a hypocrite. When you don't live what you teach and preach in front of your children, you're a hypocrite. When you support homophobia, racism, sexism, but say that you are a Christian, you are a hypocrite. Anybody who behaves in a different way than what they talk or say they believe is a hypocrite. Hypocrisy is another word for liar.